Hi, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Katie.
I'm Steph.
This is little Theo. We are a married lesbian couple from Vancouver and the creators of Let's See the World.
This month we're putting out tons of Pride content. We are releasing 2 new videos every week on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out.
For today's video, it's a bit more of a serious topic, but I think something that's really important, and we are talking about dealing with homophobia, our experiences with it, how we deal with it, our advice to other queer people on how to deal with it, and also for allies, what you can do. The first thing that I think we need to do is just identifying what it is that homophobia can look like, because I think a lot of people think that it's, being yelled at in the street and having people shouting Bible verses at you and things like that, which it definitely can be and often is, but there are lots of other ways that homophobia kind of shows itself in every day, and lots of other ways that queer people experience it, and a lot of the times it is a lot more subtle.
I think there's this idea that, if someone's going to be homophobic, they're going to outright say something to you, whereas in reality, that homophobia might actually look like just a subtle shift in the way someone treats you, or the way someone treats your partner, or changes in their behavior after you come out to them or after they find out you're gay.
Sometimes those forms of homophobia can be the hardest ones to deal with, because those people don't always even know that they're being homophobic. Sometimes those people think that they're allies. Sometimes those people think that they are accepting of queer people, but when there's a queer person right in front of them, they're not. They might think they're being an ally, but their behavior shows otherwise. So we all need to decide, how we're going to deal with those situations, what we're going to do in order to protect ourselves. And this is something that Steph and I talk about all the time. In the past 10 years, we've had to make some tough decisions and set boundaries and just do whatever we can to protect our relationship and protect ourselves. For us, obviously, we are super privileged and we're straight passing if we're not holding hands or looking like we're a couple. Most people don't assume that we are one. So in terms of safety, in terms of being out in the world, we've never really encountered situations where, we're fearing for our lives, where we think that someone's going to be violent toward us. And we know how privileged we are for that. Not everyone can say that. That being said, we do live our lives online, and we share our love every day and our life every day on the internet, and that puts us in a position to experience homophobia every single day.
We're so grateful that we're able to reach a large audience of LGBT people all around the world, but unfortunately that also means we are reaching an audience all around the world that sometimes is less than supportive.
Definitely. On Instagram every single day, I delete comments and messages and block users and report content every single day on our page from people coming over just to be homophobic. And because we personally decide not to engage with those people, we think it's important to remove all of it as well, because it's not just us who's seeing it and it's experiencing that, it's also all of the people who follow us, and we don't want them to have to go through that as well.
Our philosophy in general is to not engage with homophobic comments in person and online, even though it can be hard, especially for me, because I love a good debate. But obviously we have to keep our safety in mind, and that is the number one priority.
Definitely. That's something that we always need to consider, whether or not it's worth it. I think, I've definitely shouted back at people on the street and stuff, but only because I know that we feel safe. But that is something that we have to consider all the time. Online and in real life, I think too that you can always tell when someone's homophobia is coming from, a really hateful place, and that there's no point in having a conversation and there's no getting through to them. Those times I definitely don't bother engaging, but there are some times where homophobia might just be coming from a place of ignorance and lack of education, and sometimes people are willing to learn, and they might be open to having that conversation. They might be open to learning. And sometimes in those situations, I think we will engage and we'll be more open to having those conversations, because that is how we change people's minds. But it's a decision that, every day it's going to be different based on how we're feeling and what capacity we have to educate people. And it's just, yeah, a decision we have to make like on a case-by-case basis all the time.
Totally. Even though Katie and I are extremely privileged, you know, just the reality of being lesbians in a same-sex relationship, we do experience homophobia.
Definitely. And I know for me, some of the hardest parts has been experiencing those kind of more subtle forms of homophobia that maybe I didn't even detect right away. And those can definitely be the toughest. I had people in my life who definitely treated me differently after I came out to them because it was a big surprise. People who were, you know, not welcoming to Steph, and all of those things are rooted in homophobia, whether they know it or not. They might think that they're being welcoming, they might think that they're being accepting, but it's up to queer people to decide what homophobia is and what it looks like, because we're the ones who experience it. And so in those situations, we have just had to make some tough decisions and set boundaries. And it's a very personal decision how you want to deal with those situations, especially if it's with people who are close to you. That's really a decision that, you know, someone can only make for themselves, but that's just what we've done, and I know that we've done what's best for us. So what can we all do to help combat homophobia and kind of change this like heteronormative society that we live in? I think for queer people, the best thing we can do, and of course it's a very individual choice and safety first always, is just being visible. Like being visible in your relationships. We've always tried really hard to be visible, both in real life and online, kind of outing ourselves every chance we get, because that's the only way that we're really going to normalize same-sex relationships, and that's exactly what we need to do in order to combat homophobia.
Obviously not everyone's going to be comfortable doing that, but for those of us who are in an environment where it is safe, you know, it's really important for us to do that, and it's great if you can make that choice.
Definitely. If you are not a queer person yourself, you're an ally to the community, and you want to help combat homophobia, I think one of the best things you can do is call it out in life when you see it, and don't be one of those people who just kind of stands back and like laughs at the joke or like lets it happen without stepping in. We need allies, and we need people to stick up for us and stand up for us, and that's one of the best ways that you can help.
Obviously keeping your safety in mind is important, but if it is safe to do so, you know, intervening and shutting down those homophobic comments or jokes can be really impactful. If these interventions come from a non-queer person, they can often hold a lot more weight, and they're really beneficial to the queer community.
Exactly. Being an ally is an active position. It's something that you have to do, not just be. And so practicing allyship every day in your everyday life, it does look like using your platform to support the community, stepping in real life when you see a queer person being harmed, or you see someone, you know, spouting off homophobic bullshit. Like, be the person who's going to step in and shut that down and stand up for us. That's exactly what we need, and that's the best way you can be an ally. Another thing that you can do as an ally, I think, is just acknowledging that homophobia sucks to experience, and it can be really traumatic for people. When I speak up a lot online and in life about experiencing homophobia, I'm often told by allies and people who are trying to be allies to just like not worry about it and let it go, and like positive vibes only, and like, you know, don't spend too much time thinking about it, like let it go. And I totally understand that those all come from a really positive place. It's just that it's super dismissive to how harmful experiencing homophobia can be and how traumatic it can be for queer people. So rather than telling them that it's not a big deal, holding space for them and recognizing that it is a big deal, especially when it's something that we go through every single day, and just having compassion and being there, holding space for those people, and understanding that you will never understand. It's not something that you will ever experience.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that also 100% applies to, you know, the experiences of women or people of color or someone of a different religion. You know, I think that anytime someone is experiencing something or has experienced something that you will never understand, it's important not to dismiss those feelings and to, like you said, hold space and allow them to speak about it.
So I know this was a bit of a heavier topic, but it's important to talk about, and we just want other queer people to know that if you're experiencing homophobia, that you are not alone. It's something that a lot of us or all of us go through. You have every right to stand up for yourself if you feel safe doing that, and you have every right to set boundaries with people who you're experiencing homophobia from.
And if you're an ally, just know that you are really valued, and we would love for you to continue to stand up for us and, you know, help us out in this fight.
So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, comments, anything, leave them in the comment section below, and make sure you're subscribed for more videos. We'll have another one coming soon.
See you next time.